Draymond Green recently, because of the suspension and because of therapy and because of a lot of things that he was addressing, he admittedly was addressing himself, hadn't been seen recently over the last few weeks during the Christmas holidays and beyond. But he came out and he came on this podcast and he spoke. And somehow my name came up because Draymond Green was talking about how he had an opportunity to reflect on some of the decisions and some of the litany of mistakes that he has made, et cetera, et cetera. And then from that point forward, he wanted to speak to me about, not speak to me, but he wanted to express himself about something he heard I said. Ladies and gentlemen, this is Draymond Green on his podcast, speaking about yours truly and something he alleges I said about Steph Curry. Listen to this.
One thing throughout this process that really hurt me, I turned on the TV screen and someone, Stephen A. was like, Steph is a bad leader because Draymond did X. It pissed me off, but it crushed me. It crushed me because how is Steph enduring being a bad leader? Like, this guy doesn't give us anything to tear him down about. This guy does everything the right way. And yet he's being torn down because my actions crushed me. That was a tough one. That was a tough blow to deal with. Because he got crushed publicly for that, I'm going to apologize publicly. I sincerely apologize to Steph for my actions.
Do you really, really need to know why I'm pissed right now? Why I'm so fucking pissed off? Excuse my language, but it's necessary right now. Before I go any further, ladies and gentlemen, let me come to my own defense, please. And let me show you proof that what Draymond Green said simply is not true. Take a look at me commenting about Steph Curry, just as Draymond Green alluded to. Look at this.
What about Steph Curry? You are the leader. If this were a teammate of LeBron James, we'd be asking LeBron, what you going to do about it? Even though LeBron isn't the one that did something like that. We would have been asking. We would have been pointing to his leadership. We've been pointing to the incredible role model that he is, the leader, the champion, the kind of impact and influence that he has. And we lean on all of those things to say LeBron, 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 even if it had nothing to do with LeBron. But somehow, some way, we never asked that question about the babyface assassin who's the greatest shooter on the planet Earth, who's a 4-time champion and a 2-time league MVP, who, by the way, is class personified, and I can't think of a greater role model than Steph Curry.
There you have it. Ladies and gentlemen, you heard the sound for yourself. You heard the sound for yourself. See, I keep receipts. Did you hear me say that Steph Curry was a bad leader? Did those words ever come out of my mouth? Did they come out of my mouth? Did you hear me say that Steph Curry was a bad leader? The answer is no. Draymond Green, that is false. That is erroneous. That is not true. But Draymond Green, you ain't the one I'm pissed at. It's that damn Steve Kerr. Because that man, who I religiously call one of the top 5 greatest coaches and a very, very decent and good person, goes in front of microphones and cameras and talk about how disgusted he was that folks was talking about the leadership. I give Draymond credit. At least he had the courage to say my name. Because Draymond has courage. And Draymond ain't duplicitous. And he ain't passive aggressive. And he doesn't allude to things. He says what he says. And he stands on it. And I respect that. Steve Kerr didn't do that. Everybody and their mother knew that Steve Kerr was talking about me when he was talking about how disgusted he was that people were questioning Steph Curry's leadership. I didn't question Steph Curry's leadership. Steph Curry leads by example. Steph Curry is one of the most decent, classy, nicest human beings you will ever meet in your life. He doesn't have a discourteous or disrespectful bone in his body. He's a family man. He's a God-fearing individual. He is class personified. He is a future Hall of Famer. He is one of the greatest players the NBA has ever seen, and without question, the greatest shooter that has ever graced this sport in the history of the game. You could talk about Del Curry. You could talk about the days of downtown Freddie Brown. You could talk about the days of Ricky Pierce, Dale Ellis, Allen Houston, Ray Allen, Reggie Miller, Larry Bird himself. The list goes on and on and on. You can sit up there and talk about the Ray Allens, the Kyle Korvers, the J.J. Reddicks of the world. Pick anybody you want. There has never been a shooter in the history of basketball greater than Steph Curry. Those are the things that I say about this man. So why did I bring him up when it came to Draymond? I can understand why Draymond was put off by what I said, because it implied that Steph Curry was responsible for him in some capacity. If that's Draymond's interpretation, my apologies, because I certainly didn't mean to imply that. Draymond is his own man, and he stands on his own 2 feet. And he ain't trying to look for anybody else to lead him. He considers himself that alpha male, that leader. That's not what I was saying. What I was saying was, we live in a day and age where if this were LeBron James, we would have been all over him. We would have said, where's the leadership? That's your team. When Kyrie Irving had issues in Cleveland, what's up, LeBron? When J.R. Smith made mistakes, what's up, LeBron? When stuff was happening in Miami, we gave him a reprieve then because D. Wade was there and Pat Riley was there. But when he went to L.A., anytime there's any kind of struggle on or off the court, what's up, LeBron? And all I was saying was, why would we do that to LeBron, but not do that to Steph Curry? What's good for the goose is good for everybody. If you're going to do that to LeBron, do it to everybody. If you're not going to do it to Steph Curry, don't do it to anybody. If we're going to look at Draymond and say, this is you, and it wasn't about leadership implementing itself into your psyche so you wouldn't find yourself in precarious predicaments to do some of the things that you do. If we're not going to say that about Steph Curry with Draymond, why would we say it about LeBron with anybody? Why would we say it about Kevin Durant with Kyrie in Brooklyn? Why would we not have said it about Kyrie with anybody in Boston when they were a relatively young team and he went there proclaiming to be a leader? We look at leaders all the time and say, what's up? Not just about what they're doing behind the scenes, but what they're doing for public consumption. Because appearances and perception matters. So if that is what we're doing, why did that not apply to Steph Curry? I was asking the question because I wanted those people who do things like that to have an answer. And Steve Kerr ran with it, which pissed me off. He ran with it by trying to imply that people were questioning Steph Curry's leadership. And what we were saying was, no. We were asking, if you're going to question other people's leadership for the same predicament, why would you not question Steph Curry? Then maybe we shouldn't question Steph Curry at all. That's what we were saying. And that's what I'm talking about. Back to Steve Kerr and the Golden State Warriors. That pissed me off. Because you see, what happens is when it comes to the media, rather than listen to what people actually say and hold them accountable, headlines and whatever perception you want to create that could ultimately foment cynicism in their direction is what some people do. I'm not accusing Draymond Green of doing that. I'm accusing Steve Kerr of doing that. And I did not appreciate that. There have been a lot of issues that have gone on with the Golden State Warriors throughout the years. if it were another team, if it were Giannis in Milwaukee, when Embiid had issues with when there were issues with Ben Simmons, we talked about Embiid. When there were issues with Jimmy Butler and wanting to stay, we talked about Embiid. When Butler was in Philadelphia and decided to depart for South Beach, we talked about Embiid. We talked about Giannis in Milwaukee. We're talking about him now. And we certainly have talked about LeBron throughout the years. We talked about Kevin Durant in Brooklyn. We talked about CP3's leadership, knowing he's a leader, wondering whether it was the right kind of leadership because he's in your face and he holds you accountable. We've talked about all those things. What's wrong with asking the question? So the experts who are intimately involved with the leadership and the influence and the impact of Steph Curry could provide an answer that provides clarity for us all. What's wrong with that? What's wrong with that? That's not questioning Steph Curry. It was an opportunity for those to explain what a great leader Steph Curry is and why. Just like those took the liberty to do so for LeBron. That's all. So when Draymond says what he says, I'm like, where'd that come from? Did you hear what I had to say? I talked to Draymond quite a few times during the NBA season. Brilliant basketball mind, really good brother. Obviously, he's made some mistakes that he's had to address, but ain't nobody rooting for him harder than me. That's my dog. I love him to death. But for people to look and to twist and turn what I'm saying, now I'm not going for that. That ain't right. I don't question the leadership of Steph Curry. I'm questioning why no one had questions about him, but they had questions about LeBron. Fair is fair. At least admit that all of us should have left LeBron alone when he was bothered about every little thing every one of his teammates or somebody in his organization did. That's all I was trying to say.